You could have a situation where an employee has to pay taxes in the UK and the other country and file tax returns in both countries. So it can really complicate their tax affairs.
Hi, and welcome to Crowe with Business Solutions. Today I'm joined by Kenny.
Yeah, my name's Kenny. I'm a senior manager in our workforce advisory team, and I specialise in helping organisations with the cross-border hiring and deployment of staff.
Kenny, since COVID, a lot of people work from home, and some people work for organisations that are not necessarily UK, registered or work for foreign employers. So, what are the things that need to be taken into consideration?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're getting a lot of these questions, as you know, we get a lot of employers who are wanting to offer more flexibility for their staff, and that involves cross-border remote working. And there are a number of considerations to take into account. I would say to start with, the employer has to be mindful of the employment law requirements. When you have staff working in the UK, they will have the protection of UK employment laws, even if their employment contract is governed by the laws of a different country, say the country that the employer is based in.
Okay.
Because what that could mean is that they might have the ability to cherry pick which laws are more favourable to them, and that can create some unexpected challenges if the employer, say, for example, wants to terminate the employment.
Right. So basically we're saying that if I decide to go and work for a French employer, then I'm still protected by UK laws.
If you've got a French employer who has someone working in the UK, then that employee will have the protection of UK laws.
Right.
Even if their contract is governed by French employment laws, they'll basically have the ability to rely on both sets of laws in that scenario. Oh, and as an employer with staff in the UK, they also have to consider whether they have to put in place certain mandatory benefits and insurances, such as a workplace pension scheme, and employer's liability insurance potentially as well. And so it's basically really important for employers to understand their obligations under UK employment law before they agree to any request for the staff to work remotely.
What other things do they need to consider from a UK tax perspective in this area then?
Yeah, so from a tax perspective, this employee working remotely in the UK, they're going to most likely have UK income tax to pay on earnings. But what we often find with people in this type of working arrangement is that they often have to pay regular visits to their employer's office, which is going to be based in a different country. And it's often the case that those days worked in that other country are taxable in that other country.
Oh, okay.
So you could have a situation where an employee has to pay taxes in the UK and the other country and file tax returns in both countries. So it can really complicate their tax affairs. So it's really best to look into this and check to avoid any nasty surprises down the line. And then from an employer perspective, the company will probably have payroll taxes to pay on those work days in the other country where the employer is based, if they do have to pay visits to the other country. And in the UK, potentially, the UK company will have to operate UK pay-as-you-earn, national insurance, workplace pension contributions on those earnings. It depends ultimately on a number of factors. For example, if the employer has a place of business in the UK or the EU, and whether this working arrangement can be structured as a type of informal secondment to the UK.
Are there any other things that a company should look into before they agree to deploying staff or hiring employees, in a foreign jurisdiction?
I would say another thing worth mentioning, which can be particularly relevant to remote workers, is whether the activities of that remote work in the UK could possibly constitute a permanent establishment of the foreign company. Broadly speaking, permanent establishment, or PE, is created if the worker is habitually concluding contracts on behalf of the foreign company, and that's still possible even if they're just working from their home in the UK.
Well, thank you very much, Kenny. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I look forward to seeing you again.